It's episode 592 of the Locked On Texas Rangers. On today's podcast, I'm going to be talking about how amazing Corey Seager has been at home versus on the road, plus some updates along the farm. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On the Texas Rangers. I'm your host, Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan since 2010, host of the Locked On Texas Rangers podcast for now 4 seasons. Hopefully this one will end up being a better season than it looked like it was last night in an absolutely rough 8-2 loss to the Kansas City Royals. But first, thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. Follow the show at Locked On Rangers and subscribe on YouTube. We have crushed past the 800 subscriber mark. We are going for a new goal, 1,000 by the All-Star break. I think we can do it. It's a little aggressive. Hopefully, if the Rangers start performing a little bit better than they did last night, then we might actually hit that mark. But, it was not a great game for the Texas Rangers. The actual nice homecoming game that Bobby Witt Jr. and Bobby Witt Sr. were hoping for came last night. It was a very nice performance for Bobby Witt Jr. on his father's birthday. Happy birthday, I guess belated now at this point, to Bobby Witt Sr. No thank you for using your present to make your son destroy the Texas Rangers. It was not fun, but my gosh. I kind of forget how young Bobby Witt Jr. is. He's 21 years old. He's not turning 22 for another, month or so at this point. Absolutely insane. He had a one-hit game, but a 3 RBI game, was just everywhere. Defensively, he is a monster. He is playing third base because Kansas City is just stacked with fantastic infield defense at second, shortstop. Even their backup shortstops, they've got 3 different guys who could probably be a plus to, maybe a little bit more than plus defensively on their roster in total when they're fully healthy at shortstop. That's how good their defense on the infield has been so far. But the Rangers lost 8-2, and it was not a particularly close one. Matt Bush was the opener, and this one looked fine in his perfect first inning of work. Colby Allard comes up. Zach Rex was optioned. He worked 3 innings, only allowed 1 run, and that 1 run came off a solo shot from, of course, the number 8 hitter, Whit Merrifield, who had a 3-hit game because, of course, the 8-hitter has a 3-hit game on the worst offense in baseball, probably, against this Rangers team, who I was literally just saying on yesterday's episode is not bad. When they come out and they do this, because they love making me look stupid. They just absolutely love it, which I respect the pettiness, but maybe use your pettiness to beat some other baseball teams. It's supposed to make me, look dumb and wrong. I can do that enough on my own. Thank you very much, Texas Rangers. I don't need you to make me look stupid. I'll do it all myself. But the bullpen was not great in this one, particularly just 2 guys, really. I mean, Allard allowing the 1 solo shot, that was fine. That was one of only 3 base runners he allowed in his 3 innings. He looked mostly solid, and I've bashed on him probably maybe a little bit too much this year. I don't know. He's been fine, but honestly, there's not a whole lot of place for him in this bullpen. He came up in this one to be kind of the spot starter. Bush obviously was his opener. He had been in AAA. He was optioned when the rosters shrunk from 28 to 26 so that the Rangers could bring him back up a little bit later, or a little bit earlier in the season. I think he'd had to wait 15 days down in the minors before they could call him back up if he waited until they optioned him when the rosters closed. But because they did it before they shrunk, they could wait just 10 days. And I think it's been a little bit more than 10 days since they sent him down at first. Maybe 10 days on the dot. But he was fine. But the guy who had the problem in this one was Garrett Richards. This was by far his worst outing of the season. He has not been anywhere near what the Rangers were expecting from him as a long man or as really anything in this pen. He only got 1 out. He allowed 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Just not a great performance for him. And he has been, at this point, he is the worst member of the Rangers pen. It was not a great day for Matt Moore either, who allowed 3 runs, which is the most he's allowed in a game, majors or minors, this season. But for a guy who was supposed to be, and Garrett Richards was supposed to be the long man in this team, he is not. He has not been long at all. He has pitched in 9 games. He has gone 10 in the third innings. He's only gone 2 innings at the most. That's the most he's gotten. In most outings, he's just gone 1 inning. He's got a 5.23 ERA at this point. He's allowed 8 hits, 6 runs. All of those were earned. 2 home runs and 7 walks in his 10 in the third innings. He has struck out 11. That's the only thing he's really got going for him. He has not been good. The rest of this pen has been really solid. Nails, Joe Barlow, fantastic. John King, excellent. Brett Martin, Matt Bush, pretty solid. Dennis Santana, Brock Burke, fantastic. Matt Moore, surprisingly good. Surprisingly good despite this bad outing. Like, I'm not going to freak out on him. He still hasn't allowed a home run this year, majors or minors, in Matt Moore. But he did make the Rangers' comeback attempt much worse. I don't love what I'm seeing from Garrett Richards, and the Rangers have a couple of really, really good arms coming back into their pen. I think sometime around mid-June is what it's looking like with Jonathan Hernandez and Jose Leclerc. It's looking like that's when they're going to come back. And there's going to be some steep competition for this pen because, there's a lot of guys that are doing really well, but right now Garrett Richards is not one of them. It doesn't really matter what the paid him. He's 34 years old. He is not performing. I think he and Matt Bush might be one of the first ones on the chopping block because they are so much older. Bush is 36, but he is still performing pretty well. His ERA is a little bit higher than some of the other guys. He has allowed 3 home runs in his 12 innings of work. But other than that, he's been pretty solid, only allowed 2 walks and struck out 14. Like, he has been a solid, reliable reliever, but that doesn't mean that he couldn't be immediately replaced by Hernandez and Leclerc because both those guys are straight up elite. And if Matt Bush isn't performing at an elite level, as the case for pretty much all of these relievers, if they aren't performing at an elite level, there's now some competition for the pen. Nicholas Snyder, who is getting some work in AAA, I think they want to keep him there for a while just to make sure that he's completely ready when he comes back up. He was one of the guys who kind of burned through the system really quickly, and so he didn't perform quite as well in his first couple of stints at the major league level. I think they're working to get some of those command issues figured out just a little bit. The guy's got absolute gas and really, really nasty stuff. And again, I love me a glasses reliever, but he's going to be coming for one of those rotation spots. And Garrett Richards is the guy who probably needs to wash his back because he has not performed very well, and he is not going to stand up in this rotation. Offensively, the only runs were a couple of home runs, a pinch hit home run by none other than Brad Miller. I really just think you need to tell Brad Miller every single time that he's pinch hitting. Even if you started the game like, no, you're actually just pinch hitting right now. Because as a pinch hitter, he's pinch hit in 9 games, 9 plate appearances. He is 4 for 9 with 2 home runs, a double, batting .444 and slugging .1222. That's an OPS of 1667. The guy has been phenomenal as a pinch hitter. Just phenomenal. So maybe just pinch hit him there. When he's playing in left field or third base, he's got a OPS below 360 as a third baseman. In left field, OPS of 502. Right field, in literally just 4 plate appearances, he's got a 1587 OPS, and as a pinch hitter, 1667. Like, just throw this guy out in right field and pitch hitting, and that's it. That's all you want him to do. Literally just come in for 1 at bat a game and, try and get a dinger. Maybe he'll strike out. Maybe he'll get a dinger. Maybe he'll get a double. Like, this guy has been fantastic in pinch hitting appearances. And you know who else has been fantastic? The other person who got a home run is Corey Seager, who hit another bomb to center field. A little bit of a wall scraper. Michael A. Taylor almost caught it, who is, by the way, pretty much the best defensive center fielder in baseball, but he did not come up with it. It was a home run. It was his 7th of the season. All of those have come at home. And, we knew that Corey Seager liked to hit at home. And he's got a little bit of extreme splits. And I talked a little bit how you shouldn't worry about his numbers because they're all okay. And we'll get a little bit more into what Corey Seager has been doing so far because he has been red hot at home. And hopefully he can get the Rangers started on this very, very long homestand of getting off to maybe a 500 record. We'll see. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on in this episode. But first, this episode is brought to you by Athletic Greens. Athletic Greens is the number one thing that you can do for your body in under 60 seconds. It is something that I maybe would have helped me if I was taking a little bit more. Wouldn't be as sick as a dog for the last 2 weeks as I have been. But it is a daily nutritional powder. You put in 8 ounces of water, you shake it up, and you drink it, and it is fantastic. Most of those things you're like, oh, this is going to taste. It's going to be so good for me. It's going to taste so bad for me. But no, this tastes like just a normal juice drink. It is, it costs you less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health. It's cheaper than your cold brew habit. It's cheaper than getting all these different supplements yourself. You're investing in all-in-one nutritional insurance. And if you want for more than just me and my testimony and how great it's been for me, Athletic Greens has over 7,000 five-star reviews recommended by pro athletes, trusted by leading health experts such as Tim Ferriss and Michael Gervais. The Athletic Greens founder was creating experience. He wants to help out with your gut health, and he ended up on a complicated supplement routine to recover. Cost him $100 a day. He created Athletic Greens after experiencing how difficult it was to create your own optimal nutritional routine on your own. So to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/MLB Network. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/MLB Network. Take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. Now, for your second listen, go check out the Locked On Now podcast. It is got recaps of MLB games, analysis from our local experts, taking fans through the season like no other network. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Now, let's look a little bit at Corey Seager, who has been, good. He's been good. He's got 7 home runs. He's leading the Texas Rangers at this point. His splits, a little weird thing for the splits, early season splits. Right now, he's hitting a lot better against left-handed pitching than against right-handed pitching. He's got an 889 OPS in 43 at-bats, or plate appearances against lefties versus 79 plate appearances against righties, where he's got a 670 OPS. So hitting the ball a little bit harder, getting on base at a little bit over, I think exactly 70 points higher against lefties. And home and away, this is the mind-boggling stat. He only has 1 extra base hit away from home. It is his only double of the season, but he has all 7 home runs in 14 games at home. The Rangers have played exactly 14 games on the road, exactly 14 at home. And he has oh my gosh, this is striking. He has exactly 61 plate appearances at home and exactly 61 plate appearances on the road. So at home, he's got 7 home runs. He's got 6 walks, 10 strikeouts, a slash line of 291, 361, 673. That's an OPS over 1,000 at 1033. That's great. That is everything you want and more from a guy who you're paying a crap ton of money. On the road, the exact same number of games and plate appearances. He's got no home runs, 4 walks to 10 strikeouts. Not too horrible, but the slash line is 196, 241, and slugging 214. He's slugging over 450 points worse. His on base is over 100 points worse. His batting average is 95 points worse on the road than it is at home. The guy has been fantastic at home, and just need to play a lot more home games. That's really what it's coming down to. He also needs to learn how to hit on the road. But you look at some of his expected numbers and things like that. Defensively, he has been above average, which you wouldn't be able to tell it really from some of my advanced eye metrics, as in just watching him. He's got 4 errors, which some of them have been plays that he's just booted. Some of them have been plays that I feel like were a little less generous errors. But these metrics have him as an above average defensive shortstop. Sprint speed, he's in the bottom 20%. He's not running out a whole lot of ball. He's not trying to get a whole bunch of those infield hits. Like, he's just one of those guys who, if he's getting a single, it's usually the opposite way around a shift, so he's not having to sprint things out. Whereas Marcus Semien, who is hustling a little bit more, and honestly, I just think a little bit faster, who's in the top 10% of sprint speed. Chase rate, right in the middle of the pack. Whiff rate, 36th percentile, so bottom half. But his strikeout rate, top quarter of baseball. Barrel rate, top third of baseball. Expected WOBA, top 10% of baseball. Expected slugging, top 5% of baseball. Expected batting average is in the top 15% of baseball. His hard hit percentage and average exit velocity, both 69th percentile, which I think is just pretty darn nice for a guy who is absolutely spraying. You look at his hit chart, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. He's got hits all over. He is a well-rounded hitter who is not just hitting the ball on the pull side. He's also hitting it opposite field, which makes me a little curious why teams are shifting him so aggressively still. I mean, I get it. Maybe they're taking away some more doubles or whatever, but he's hitting those hits to the opposite field. He's still doing that. He's still got 3 hits right in that where the third baseman / shortstop normally would be on that side. He's got a few more on the right side in those singles, but still, he's just hitting that ball so hard that it doesn't really matter where the shift is, because, again, if you hit the ball hard enough through the shift or over the shift or over the friggin' fence, it doesn't matter where the defense is. It's going to be a hit. So Offensively, he has been fine. I would like to see him do a little bit better on the road. Obviously, that would be much nicer. But again, he's been really good. You shouldn't worry about him. I would like to see how well he'd be hitting on the road versus even how well he'd be hitting at home if the baseball was not deader than a doornail. It is honestly so frustrating that I have to talk about this every single time because I can't get a good barometer of who's actually hitting well offensively as opposed besides the guys who are obviously putting up the big numbers in Jonah Heim and Corey Seager. Like outside of that, I'm like, is this guy actually hitting that badly or is the baseball just dead? And I think it might have prematurely ended Willie Calhoun's career with the Rangers because the baseball was so dead. Because if it wasn't so dead, then he'd probably be putting up numbers. Probably wouldn't have optioned him. It wouldn't been a whole thing. I don't know. It's frustrating. I wish more people would make a big stink about it. I'm glad that Chris Bassett came out and said something a few weeks ago. I wish more players would do that. Force Major League Baseball to actually, say something about it. Actually, I don't even know if they would, but just like try. I don't know. I'm sure they're doing everything they can through back channels, but maybe just whine a little bit louder publicly about how horrible and how inexcusable it is for the baseball to be this bad so far around Major League Baseball. But they're also using Major League Baseball at minor league fields, and I'm going to get into a little bit of what's going on the Rangers farm system. I haven't talked about it in a while. I'm going to talk about Jack Leiter's best start as a professional, what was going so right with him, and what I have liked so far from him and what I haven't liked. But first, I'm going to tell you guys about BetOnline. BetOnline is the number one spot for all of your sports betting needs. It is absolutely fantastic. They got the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, fights, and even next year's NFL futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sports wagering information and live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Now let's look a bit at this minor league season. There's a couple of guys. Obviously, the first one that everyone's asking about is not Willie Calhoun. Not Willie Calhoun. They're asking about Leody Taveras and how long it's going to be and what's going on with him right now. There's a little bit of an issue. He missed some time, was taken out for a manager's decision. He did not run out a third strike. I think that's the call. I saw Michael Tepid and Levi Weaver and a couple other guys talking about it, and Levi asked Woody about it and why he wasn't playing. But again, Leody's numbers have been fantastic through 25 games. He has an OPS of 993. He's got an on base of 393. He's slugging 600. The only thing I'm worried about is his strikeout numbers. He's striking out. He's got 27 strikeouts and just 6 walks. I love that he's doing damage to the baseball. I love that. He's got that raw power. He's got that strength. But he was always a guy who had a pretty advanced approach, and I think that will help him a little bit more than seeking to do damage against Major League Baseball pitching, because it was such a rough start to his MLB career the last couple of years, mainly just last year. 2020 was fine for him, probably called up a little bit early, but it was really, really rough for him. So I'd like to see him striking out a little bit less, walking a little bit more, having a little bit more of a polished, planned approach at the plate. I understand that he's probably really frustrated. I'm sure that part of that not running out the third strike was he just didn't. I don't know. I get that he's frustrated because he's putting up these numbers. It's been 25 games, 112 plate appearances. It's not nothing, but I'd like to see it. And I'm sure the Rangers would like to see it for about 6 weeks to probably 8 weeks before they're like, okay. Because once they call him up, they have to make a decision on one of these everyday guys. Mainly, it's going to be Cole Calhoun. It's just like, all right, are we going to cut bait with Cole Calhoun? Which I think, yes, it's time. They keep making excuses for him, like they weren't making for Willie, even though his advanced numbers are not nearly as good. He's shown a few moments of class in the field, still has a big arm in right field. But again, that is not enough for him to be absolutely paltry at the plate, and still they bat him in the middle third of the lineup while he's putting up these horrendous numbers. I get it, he's a veteran presence. There is something to that. It's not all hogwash and phooey. There is something that's important about that, and he has a major league track record, but he's got an OPS of 426, and that's just not good enough at this point. You could say the same thing about Marcus Semien, but Marcus Semien was just signed to a 7-year contract, and Cole Calhoun has never, ever, ever had anywhere near the heights of his career that Marcus Semien has. I'm starting to get real worried about Marcus Semien. Maybe give him a day off, just, I don't know, get his head right or something, because it has been really bad for him so far. And it's not all the baseball, and it's not horrendous, horrible looking. Like, I think his at-bats have shown a little bit more promise than Cole Calhoun. But, again, he's also leading this team in doubles. Marcus Semien, not Cole Calhoun. Cole Calhoun has literally 2 extra base hits, 1 double and 1 home run. But, I don't know. I'm thinking that once they do decide to make that decision with Willie, he's going to be, or with Leote, he's going to be starting every day pretty much in center field. And then you're going to have Adolis in right field. Cole Calhoun is going to be just gone. And, some combination of Nick Solak / Brad Miller / Eli White is going to play left field at that point. I think right now I would just straight up give it to Eli White because he's been so dang good. By the way, Corey Seager with his home run last night, in case you're keeping up with us every day, of the Rangers baseball reference WAR leader. He has moved into the top spot over Jonah Heim with a 1.2 baseball reference WAR. Goes to Jonah Heim's 1.1. Eli White is now up 2.7 in third place. So in case you're keeping track of that at home, that is something that you can take a look at. But let's look at this minor league season a little bit more than just Leote, who has been, again, fantastic. We'll see if he gets called up. Honestly, I think in the next couple of weeks, that's about where we're going to know a decision on him at this point. Another guy who's been doing fairly well, Sherten Apostle, who is the guy who's pretty much been written off at this point, which kind of sucks because they're both the same age. That kind of drives me insane that Sherten Apostle and Leote are both the same age, and they're both 23 years old. Like, they're both really young. Also, a guy who has played in very limited sample size so far that I kind of wrote off probably a little bit prematurely is Steele Walker, the left-handed, pretty much every outfield position kind of guy. 25 years old, 6 games, 30 plate appearances. At this point, he's got 3 home runs. He's got 4 walks, 3 strikeouts, a slash line of 346, 433, 692. That's really impressive. It's not nothing. I would like to see him do that for more than a week. But, again, shouts to Steele Walker. That is an impressive line and something worth noticing. Bubba Thompson, again, still has above 800 OPS. Still only has... does have 3 home runs at this point, 4 doubles, 1 triple, but again, 2 walks to 34 strikeouts. I would like to see more. I do think he's going to be a major leaguer. That would be nice. Josh Smith still showing some nice plate discipline, a 353 on base, slugging under 400 at 396. I want to see a little bit more power from him, but I do like the approach is still there, still walking quite a bit, and loving what I'm seeing there from him. As for Willie, not been super great for him. He did have a home run, and I believe his first game when he got sent down to the minors, but that was in, I believe, Vegas or somewhere where the atmosphere is like, it's way, way above sea level. So, again, maybe that was partially aided by that, partially aided by the frustration, but still. By the way, for Josh Smith, he has played, if you're wondering where he's played defensively, he's got 7 games at third base, 7 games in center field, and 14 games at shortstop. So that is what they're doing with him. I thought he'd be playing a little bit more in the outfield than just 7 of his, 28 games, so 25% of his games. But I do like that he's getting some run in center field. I think he could be a legit decent center fielder. I'd like to see a little bit more pop from him so far. But again, rough start to him offensively, trying to play center field, which is new for him, but seems like he's doing a good job. I do like that he's getting some reps at shortstop as well, because that's where a lot of his value comes from. As for Frisco, Justin Foscue has been pretty much crushing it for the last 17 games so far, a 392 on base. Love to see that. 10 walks to 11 strikeouts. That is what I love to see. I was really worried about him as a guy who profiled as a very advanced bat, a very advanced approach. He is 23 years old in Frisco, which is about, what you kind of expect for that level. So seeing him still have a little bit of that power, not quite the ridiculous power surge, which I think was a little bit overblown last year because he was just so advanced and so much better for the pitchers that he was facing. But again, a 392 on base, slugging 571. He's got 9 doubles, a triple, 2 home runs. Love to see that. That is a really great start to season for him. JP Martinez has a 905 OPS, a slash. He's got the 345 line that I love to see. He is 26 years old in AA, so it's going to be about time for him to get pushed up and kind of figure out if there is something there at all for his major league career. He's got 4 home runs at this point, hitting 306, on base 405, slugging exactly 500, 10 walks, 23 strikeouts. decent stuff. Zeke Duran has been kind of, all over the place. He's got 3 home runs at this point, 14 doubles, which is first in all of baseball. Like all of Major League, minor league baseball. I think Nippon professional, like Japan, like all of Asia as well, at least all the major pro leagues. Like 14 doubles is the most in all of baseball. He's got 3 home runs as well, an OPS of 856, playing a decent amount of shortstop, a little bit of second base, a little bit of third base as well. Let me look up real quickly if he has played any of the outfield, because I'm not sure that he has at this point. No, he is not. So he's played, let's see, 16 games at shortstop. Actually, he has not played at third base yet. I thought he had, but he had not. 9 games at second base, 16 at shortstop, 2 games at DH. Love to see that. Love to see the pop come out. As for the walks to strikeouts, he's got 6 walks to 22 strikeouts. That is an improving rate in 121 at bats. He's always going to have some swing and miss to him. Like to see him adding a little bit of walks there, and that has been encouraging. Chase Lee, again, fantastic out of the pen. A guy to keep an eye on, Lucas Jacobson, who is a lefty, 26 years old. I was listening to him on the Rod Pod, a little bit talk about him. He is a lefty with some big stuff in the, I believe, mid to touches high 90s, and has a splitter and a curveball as well. Right now, Lucas Jacobson has pitched in 9 games, 9 2/3 innings, has walked 5, hasn't allowed a home run, and has struck out 11. 0.93 ERA. Chase Lee still has a perfect 0 ERA. Jack Leiter had his best start of the minor league season, went 6 innings, which was by far a professional career high. He's gone 3, 4, 2 2/3, 3, and now 6 in that start. He went 5 innings, did not allow a single walk. That is what I love. All of Frisco pitching and a lot of minor league, especially the Texas League, Frisco pitchers have been just straight up awful at not walking guys right now, especially in the starting rotation. It has been a real problem. But going 6 innings, throwing, let's see, I think he was at 68 pitches, 45 of those were for strikes, 15 of those were strikes looking. You know what that tells me? Also, the people who were there told me that he is commanding his fastball. He's putting it exactly where he wants to, and he is feeling really dang good about it. Brushed out a few changeups that, again, he just did it because he could. A lot of curveball usage in this one. Looked great. I like him having to figure out how to work around stuff, and I also like him having these great starts. It's a nice confidence builder. Like, you always want your minor league guys, like they're going to have some nights where they struggle. Hasn't been perfect for him to start. Again, the potential has always been there. You can see it. He's going to give up some long taters because, again, he is a fastball pitcher, and even Max Scherzer gave up 4 home runs in a game this season, still got the win, because even the best pitchers will get beat around sometimes. But really nice to see a big outing from him. As for the rest of the starters, nothing has been super duper impressive for the rest of them so far. Leiter has been obviously the most impressive guy. Justin Slayton's been pretty good, a 2.12 ERA in 17 innings, struck out 20. But again, that walk problem is a problem. 12 walks for him. Cole Reagan's also pretty impressive. 24 innings, 31 strikeouts, 9 walks. Like to see that number come down. Has also allowed 3 home runs. Don't super love that, but again, with a 2.25 ERA, as a 24-year-old who's, again, been through what he's been through and missing so much time, you love to see him go out there and dominate. I think he'll be there for a little while longer, but again, I think at this point, Cole Reagan's is probably the most likely guy to get that call up to AAA. There are some spots in that rotation. Kohei Arihara is still pitching quite a bit at AAA as a starter, so again, there's some room there. Look at the Hickory Crawdads. Luis Angel Acuna, who is listed as Jose Acuna, has been fantastic in 5 games so far. Has a slash line of 294, 368, and slugging 647. That's an OPS over 1,000. 1 home run so far. Evan Carter, again, OPS of 860. Walks 13 to 18. On base just a little bit below 400. Hitting above 300. As a kid who is 19 in high A, and is probably going to be a starting center fielder at 20 in Double A next year, which is just, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Mark Church is a guy to keep an eye on. He's a 21-year-old reliever who is a right-hander with some nasty stuff. Only 2 walks in 14 2/3 innings, 27 strikeouts. He will be in Frisco soon. I promise you, he will be in Frisco soon with those kind of ridiculous numbers. Does have 3 home runs in those just under 15 innings, but again, has been really dang good so far. Whereas the pitching side has not been as great so far. Some real mixed results from TK Roby, from Owen White, also a little bit from some of the other starters in Ricky Vanasco, who has a 6.91 ERA. Mixed bag of stuff. 15 walks in under 15 innings from Ricky Vanasco. Don't really know what the case is going to be there. 11 walks in 22 innings from TK Roby. ERA over 7, but 24 strikeouts. So he's still getting his paws around him, working on some of those new things for him. Hitter-wise, the rest of those guys, Aaron Zavala continues to be a weirdo revelation. He's got 29 walks to 19 strikeouts. I don't think we're going to know too much about him until he gets called up to the higher level. I would like to see him have a little bit more power. Only 3 extra base hits, 1 double, 1 triple, 1 home run. On base of 448. Batting average under 240 and slugging 310. Just a super weirdo kind of line. I don't know if he's necessarily ready for promotion, but I don't think we're going to learn much more about him until he gets that promotion. These guys are not throwing strikes, and he has a really great plate approach, and he's not going to chase those non-strikes. So, again, not a whole lot that we're going to learn from him. When we look down at Hickory, not a whole lot going on there offensively. Josie Gallon is a guy who definitely merits a shout out. 22 years old, 89 plate appearances. He's got 5 home runs, which leads that team. On base, just 7 points below 400, slugging over 550, OPS just under 950. Some pretty impressive stuff from him. Michael Brewer has 15 in the third innings, 19 strikeouts, and a 0.59 ERA. Pretty impressive stuff for him there. The rest of the pitching has been a real mixed bag. To that point, offensively, not a whole lot going on there. Maximo Acosta finally has OPS over 700. He'll be fine. He's just a kid. He's 19 years old playing in full season ball. He'll be fine. Jose Acosta has an OPS of 888. Fine. Pretty solid work. On base, just 12 points below 800 or 400. Not 800. If he had his OPS 12 points below 800, that would be definitely something that would merit a lot more investigation. But overall, pretty decent numbers on the farm. Offensively, Frisco would like to see a little bit more from those bats. Zeke Duran has been really nice. Jonathan Ornelas having 878 OPS has been nice with his 3 home runs. He's on base over 400. I don't really know what to make of that guy. He's 22 years old, plays legit shortstop, plays pretty decent third base, second base. I don't know. I think he could be a big leaguer. Blaine Krim leads that team with 5 dingers. I'd like to see a little bit more home runs from Dustin Harris. Has an OPS of 764 at this point. He's fine. He's fine. I don't know. No, I haven't learned too much about Dustin Harris that I didn't already know at this point. Offensively, it's mostly a pretty fine team. They've got 10 guys with an OPS over 700. That's what you love to see. 9 of those guys have an OPS over 760. So, again, it's been like pretty good, but not like elite numbers. And the only really elite offensive numbers right now are coming from Justin Foscue, which is a huge, great development and a story that you absolutely love to see. Starting pitchers, they're working through it. They're figuring it out. They're learning. Don't just trust the numbers being bad and think, oh, well, everything sucks. Everyone outside of Jack Leiter sucks. No, they have been solid. They are learning. They are growing. That is what they do at the minor league season. Thank y'all so much. That's probably going to do it for my minor league talk for this episode. I'll be back on tomorrow's show to talk with Lauren of Locked On Red Sox. We previewed the Red Sox series before the Rangers dropped that stinker last night. We did that on Wednesday morning, so there won't be much talk about tonight's game with the starting pitchers, of course, being Taylor Hearn and the Plano kid. Where'd we go? Jonathan Heasley. How I think this rotation is going to fix out for the rest of this weekend. They have not announced any of the starters at this point, but at this point, I haven't heard anything more about John Gray and his injury. Woody's just confident that he will make his next start, which I'm assuming is going to be on Sunday. You kind of play out the rotation like it would be. Friday would be Glenn Otto, Saturday would be Dane Dunning, and Sunday would be John Gray. I think Cody Allard would probably get sent back down. I don't know. We'll see if they want to add another bat, maybe get Steele Walker a look. I don't know, because again, he's been pretty good, but I don't expect there to be a whole lot more roster changes despite some of these minor leaguers looking pretty darn good. But thank y'all so much for listening and making this your first listen every single day. For your next listen, make it Locked On MLB. Paul Francis Sullivan, please call him Sully. He gives you his unique perspective on the Major League's past and present. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Thank y'all so much for listening this week while I have been fighting to stay off the IL. I'm hoping that these drugs will finally do their work, and by Monday, I'll be back full-voiced and everything and able to give you the loud, boisterous Locked On Rangers podcast that you've known to grow and love. Thank y'all so much for listening, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.